I mean, I've read what you've said about what you think needs nerfing. I don't really have any skin in the game. I like playing the game. I know that when you play in tournaments, gods being too strong, too weak doesn't really matter because you're playing drafts. So everyone's going to get a strong god. But you can always work towards balancing the game to be. You can always work towards the game being more balanced. So, anyways, with that out of the side, you say electron bullets, the Thor dwarf opening, Uranos sky passages. Is there another one that I'm forgetting right now?
And the favor gathering
Favor
rate
gather
for
rate
Uranos.
for Uranos. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, like justifications for why you think that this is too good, or
favor gathering for Uranos. It's just you can get so much favor if you like. The thing with sky passages is what you can do is like what I like to do and what I tell people to do is always keep an oracle next to a sky passage.
Yeah,
it gives you vision as well, so you can react to things faster.
Yeah.
And how you can play Uranos right now, because there's no counterplay to sky passages, you don't really have to run around with your units. At least most of your units. You can have like a raiding group, right? And then you just put everything inside sky passage.
Yeah.
And how are you gonna punish it? You never know. Like if you're playing against Uranos, you never know how many units are in the sky passage. So every time you try to kill one, things might go right really bad. Yeah. And they have Shockwave and Carnivora, which slows, and the other one stuns. So you might bring yourself in a disadvantage really early in the game just because you're trying to counter something that your opponent has, like sky pass.
Yeah, I've found my experience thus far against Uranos is I just don't attack them. That's like,
but that's the issue though.
Yeah, that's my experience. It's like I just have to play a hyper defensive game and not take any damage, and if I can do that, then I'm okay. But yeah, I guess you can call it an issue.
If you do that, it means that they can abuse lots of oracles.
Yeah.
They can get everything on the map with 0 working time. Now, imagine having Atlanteans, villagers that they don't need to walk.
Yeah.
Like, yes, one of them will eventually walk, but you're saving so much working time. And it's kind of crazy. Like, it just adds up.
Yeah, Uranos is doing really well. I mean, is Uranos doing well? I'm not saying.
By the way, it's not easy to play Uranos.
I'm not saying it matters.
It's hard to do all these things.
Yeah, so this is...
It's really hard to do all these things.
Yeah, this is the thing. It's like he's the only god that's got like an active bonus, right? Where it's like if you don't use this sky passage, you get nothing. I mean, you kind of get some favor, but you also need to build oracles. So
yeah, without sky passages, Uranos is like a weaker version of Gaia, because Gaia has like an insane economy.
Yeah, exactly.
But with sky passages, Uranos can have the same economy as Gaia because he literally just doesn't need to walk his villagers.
Yeah. Okay. I don't disagree with anything that you're saying in regards to Uranos at the moment. Like, I'm really I'll admit this right up front. I'm really biased against Uranos and Atlantean in general. If I had my way, I would just make them the worst god in the game so that no one will pick them. But that's just because I don't really enjoy playing them or playing against them. But that's so I don't want to be someone who ever talks balance about Atlantean because of that.
What do you think about the Thor armory?
Yeah.
For you to not be able to get like the copper upgrades in Archaic, you can only get the hammer upgrade, the unique upgrade for Thor, and then you need to go classical in order to get the other upgrades. I think that might solve a lot of issues with the early head start of Thor.
Yeah. So if you only get one upgrade early with the Dwarven Armory, you can advance probably, my guess is you can probably get like a 345 advance time, maybe a 330 advance time. I'm not sure about that with the hammer upgrade. So
yes, and you need to, and you will need to cast the Dwarven Mine as well, if you want to get an 8-up like that.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'm spitballing. So if you say I get my Dwarven Armory and I advance quick, I already think that's a good way to play. So yeah, I'm totally. I don't think that Norse would be upset about being forced away from this kind of more defensive style of Thor into a more aggressive style of Thor by needing to advance faster and just getting the hammer and then maybe getting those armory upgrades maybe a little bit earlier than everyone else does, but like they're still getting them later. So I don't think it's a terrible way to go.
And you won't have plus 3 to 4 villagers at like 3 minutes, like, because that's how early you can have like all the upgrades, right? And it's just like it just scales so hard having so many extra villagers. And it's actually dwarves that you will most likely have on gold, so it's gathering rate wise, you're actually, because they're on gold, you might be even more ahead than 4 villagers.
Yes, yeah, exactly. There are like other ways to go around, like keeping, I guess, keeping the thing, the situation alive, whatever it's called, keeping the build order alive.
But this is the problem, Boit. The problem is you shouldn't be able to have such a huge equal advantage so early in the game. There's no counterplay to it.
Yeah.
Like if there were counterplay,
well, this is where I'm going with it. If the one thing right now is I feel like whenever I move in and I do a fast advance and I try to kill off any dwarves, they always seem to live with around 10 HP because they've got an extra 10 HP than all the gatherers. And I think this is like kind of something that I think Norse players, or I think that you feel when you're playing against Norse in general, when you raid their gold mine, the dwarves, they just don't die. What do you think about HP nerf on the dwarves to get them in line with all the other villagers? Maybe coupled with the dwarven armory change as well, you know?
You're talking about specific matchups. You have specific matchups in your mind. Not all gods can do this type of aggression. Like Poseidon, for example, yes, you can do a 315 and have a centaur at 4 minutes attacking his gold, right? And yes, there, a 10 HP nerf might actually be like something good. Even though I think with like proper micro, you will only cause idle time. You should always react to it.
Yeah.
But it will not solve much, in my opinion, because like it's only Poseidon.
This isn't even just like at the early stage of the game. It's also like once the gold mine expires, right, and the Thor player leaves their base and goes to the second gold mine, and you take a fight on that position, they've got 15 dwarves that are sitting there that can take a fight and help you out in that fight, living for an extra attack or two from your aggressive army trying to punish that weakness that's in the full dwarf strategy.
Yes, but at that point, this player will probably be 1,500 resources ahead of the full line upgrade, so he will have a lot more units. And in theory, just
you're breaking up, Mister. I'm sorry, I can't make out what you're saying.
Sorry,
so
can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's better.
1, 2. Okay.
Yeah.
So by that time, the Thor player will be like 1,500 resources ahead of you. So he wouldn't need to like. He probably wouldn't. He probably won't take any damage on his dwarves unless he makes a mistake, right? If he tries to age up or if he goes for a town center. But if he keeps making units and sacrifices, for example, maybe one berserk to see what you're doing, and he sees that you're making units, then he should have a bigger army. And he also keeps the military upgrades. Like he has like upgrades over you as well. So in theory, number-wise, you shouldn't be able to gold stab him because he's just gonna have more stuff than you.
Yeah.
It might be even the opposite. He might be the one who got you.
I was saying like coupled with a change to the armory as well with this thing. Like, I don't think I don't.
Yeah,
think
then I agree.
I don't think it's enough to, because it's also Norse is really good, right? It's not just maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe Norse isn't that good, but I think Norse is in a really good spot, and I think that a HP nerf to the dwarves could make them feel a little bit more weakness in the game. So a player who's actively hitting raids is going to be a little bit more happy hitting those dwarves.
I agree. Dwarves right now, they train at 15 seconds, right?
Yeah.
Same as a villager.
Exactly.
And they cost the same amount of resources as a villager, so it doesn't make sense for them to be stronger than a villager.
Yeah.
It's just like a specialized villager. So yes, they should have the same HP.
Okay.
I didn't even... I thought that they had the same HP, by the way. When they changed the dwarves into like basically being specialized villagers, I thought they would also nerf the HP. I didn't realize they had more HP even now.
Well, now we're all getting better. We're all learning. Okay, so I don't disagree that that's a good way to nerf the strategy. Is there maybe let's say you wanted to keep the build alive. Just say that that's something you wanted to do. Would there be another way you could potentially change what's happening to
like,
I don't know, change the way that the game's working to keep the build alive, so to speak?
So the first thing is like, the most important thing is if the Thor decides to, let's say, get a one dwarf advantage, right?
Yep.
He should be kinda safe. But if he tries to go full greedy mode, it's like trying to get a town center, but getting a town center like at 2 minutes in game time. There should be some kind of a punishment. So they should either make it so that if you try to get all those dwarfs out, you're gonna be aging up later. So they could just increase the cost of the dwarven armory, for example. Just force the Thor player to stay in classical long enough for the opponent player to be able to do some damage if the Thor decides to go for the greedy mode and the other player scouts it early enough and does like a super fast age up.
Yeah.
In my opinion, if, for example, Thor decides to go four dwarfs before the age up and Poseidon goes 315, Poseidon should be able to do damage, enough damage that it will equalize things. Because one ages up, sacrifices eco to age up super fast to punish something really greedy. And the other guy is doing something super greedy and he's still not taking any damage. And in chat, El Matador says that gold is a more valuable resource, but not in early game. In early game, food is actually more valuable, especially for Thor, because Thor just has a dwarven mine that he will probably keep and cast it into classical. So he gets even more gold in his base, and if he fights long enough, he can even get another gold mine. So for Thor, he also gets extra food in his base because he's making dwarves, and he gets to keep that food in order to pump out units fast enough, because the resource that he's spending the most is gold, and he's gathering gold faster than a normal, than another like god. So he's actually getting an even better economy.
I should point out as well, like, just because I think if I'm saying this and it's not fair and it's not what you think, then say so. But Mr. wants to play all these gods, right? Like you don't want a god to be unplayable. So
exactly,
it's not like when you're suggesting these nerfs that you want the god to be dead. Like you want to be able to play the god, you want to be able to, right? So
obviously we have some preferences, right? You cannot play all 13 gods in tournaments. Like you just can't. It has to be like, let's say, a best of. There must be like a best of 9 or something. It has to be like a very long series where you are gonna be forced to play all the gods. But I don't have a favorite god or a favorite pantheon.
Yeah.
Like in tournaments when I draft, I mostly draft depending on the map and the playstyle that I can get from that god that I play.
Yeah.
You get a map and you have like, let's say, 5 gods or 6 gods, how many you have available, and you want to pick the best god for the map that you are playing, But at the same time, you also want to predict, right? You're playing with the assumption that your opponent is going to play the X god. So you're not only playing a god for a map, but you're also assuming or predicting or trying to snipe a certain matchup. So it's when you do that, you have to be able to play all the gods, because there's like each god has bad matchups and good matchups, and you want to snipe those good matchups.
Yeah.
Like if it was me 10 years ago, I would have been obviously favoring Zeus, and Zeus, my boy, got wrecked in Legacy. He got destroyed. Like the amounts of nerfs that he received they were insane. But here in Retold, I don't think I have a favorite god. Like I enjoy playing all the gods.
Yeah.
But it feels awkward when you play a god and you just feel that he's just too good.
Yeah,
and
I know what you mean.
You can,
It's like when I play Uranos right now, I'm like, it doesn't feel good winning because I just go, I didn't really do anything. I just kind of hit Shockwave, hit kick Carnivora, click Chaos, and you just kill the enemy army. I'm like, well, I want to feel some challenge with winning. Like when I beat this mass slinger strategy, for example, that feels really, really good because I know that this strategy is good. But if I beat it, I'm like, I played really well. That's like the thought process or the feeling or whatever.
It's that feeling is when you're playing against like things that you consider broken, and you have to play like in a very certain way. Like you have to plan your whole game just to beat that strategy. And this is wrong because the other guy, yes, he doesn't have to mass slingers, right? For example, he can. If he does like small adjustments to what you're doing, he can probably still destroy you because he still has the slingers, and you're forced to play in a very certain way. And when you're forced to play in a certain way to counter something broken, the other guy knows it, that you're gonna play that way, and because he knows it, he just needs to verify it with just some simple scouting, and then it makes the opponent god even stronger.
Yeah. Okay. Nerfs, buffs. So you've like what right now is I know you know what you want to nerf. Is there anything right now that you feel is just, and it can be anything, literally. Like, is there anything right now you would love to be able to use in the game that you can't use because it's not strong enough?
I think the unique upgrade for Kronos, the double time shift.
Temporal chaos.
I think it's just like a meme upgrade at the moment. I don't think it's like, at least in competitive gameplay, there's like no reason to get it. Yeah. It's just like I've never used that, and I'm pretty sure that like in a competitive gameplay, even though people like to play Kronos, I don't think they've ever used it.
Yeah, I've definitely used it in like campaign, right? In my campaign playthrough, I had it given to me for free, so I was using it. But even then, like quality of life wise, I've got 3 buildings selected, and I go to shift it. And I can't just go shift. I have to go click one building, shift, go click the next building, shift, go click the next building, shift. So even like quality of life wise, that tech could definitely get some help.
Maybe it could be like, maybe they could also make time shift happen faster, for example, right? Instead of only doing like 2 buildings at the same time, you could make it so that it's like, let's say 25% or 50% faster to transfer the building. That could also be interesting. Like this is something that you would want, right? Because you want to
it's one of those
move
ones,
towers and palaces.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where there's a how do I say it? Like something could be competitively useful, but not fun. So it's like I totally agree that I'd probably be picking that up and using it, but and being able to time shift 3 things at once, well, it might not be competitively viable or whatever. It's more fun, so it's a tough one. Maybe you could just add both in, like just go here, have 20% plus time shifting 3 things, and then you can start tweaking and going, well, maybe 20% is too much, maybe give 10%, maybe 20% is not enough. So you just like put it on top of the thing.
There's a lot of things that you can do with upgrade. For example, you can take away the bonus damage that buildings receive when they time shift, right? With that upgrade, you can do like a lot of things. Right now, it's just not good right now. It just doesn't feel good.
I think I can 100% agree. Is there anything Anything else you can think of off the top of your head?
The thing is, in my opinion, I always focus most on like tuning down things that are broken, because when you tune down things that are broken, it gives you more time to try things, to play the god.
Yeah, you
Because
like
when you're
investigate the
playing
code a bit
against
more.
slingers, yes, when you play against slingers, for example, right now, like Rust slingers and Ptas slingers, you're kind of forced to play in a certain way. Because if you do not prepare for those slingers, you're just gonna get destroyed by those slingers. It's just like how Meteor used to be, right? When you played against Isis or Set, you had to play preparing yourself for the meteors. And when that
Yeah,
happens, it kind of narrows down your gameplay so much. You just have to play in a specific way, and it just ruins the gaming experience. So you don't have the time to actually use other things. You're like, I have to do this, this, and this, or else I'm gonna die. So you don't have time, or like you just don't have the time or the to use other things from your god. So you're on a timer. You know that in 10 minutes, Meteor is gonna hit my base, and then a flood of units will arrive. So I have to be ready for it.
Well, I mean, my honest opinion about Thoth is, or at least the one town center fast mythic Thoth, is it just wasn't very good, and just people didn't really realize how to play against it. And if you were to do it that strategy now, with the you wouldn't get very many wins against very many people. It's already been nerfed to the ground, so I don't know.
It was never good in doing it in 1TC. It was never good.
Yeah.
Like obviously if you didn't expect it, it would just like it would wreck you if you didn't expect it, right? But the 2TC one was always stronger, and you can play 1TC in water though. In water,
yes,
you can do the 1TC.
That's
because you get
1TC,
the upgrades.
1TC
you get the upgrades.
fast teching has always been really good in Myth, right? Like even in Legacy, 1TC, that was the kind of way to go. I don't know how much you remember about. I don't know if you played the recent meta, the last 4 years of meta on like Anatolia, for example. But if anyone went to town center on that map, they just get ruined by any sort of destructive mythic age.
God
power, yeah. Okay. GG's. That game was over.
Yes.
Like you're absolutely right. Like I don't like it, for that game there though. If you think about it from the perspective of the Ra player, my opponent. I don't know if you were watching the game or not, but my opponent goes Tar, Sekhmet, Horus, and I go Bas, Nephthys, Thoth. I am clearly going for mass Migdol units with this. All of my prep is into mass Migdol units and trying to get a gold staff here. I'm trying to win the game at like 15 minutes, right? That's what your goal is. And correct me if I'm wrong, because if I'm wrong, that's cool. But if you don't win at 15 minutes and your opponent manages to sneak a gold mine like Soup does there, sneaks a town center like Soup does there, I think that unit comp or that god comp that Soup has should be winning in that situation. But let's say
be winning 100%.
Yeah, but let's say Magic goes Osiris there instead of going Thoth, and that's all he goes different. You no longer get that meteor, so you no longer get that big push. You no longer get that Valley of the Kings, so you no longer get that big advantage for that spike there. And I think that in that situation, I think that the game should be a little bit more equal, if not. I mean, I don't know who should be favoring in that situation, god-wise, but I think it should be a more equal later game experience. So if that's not happening, then that's an issue. But yeah.
I think against in this current meta, you kind of are forced to play Osiris, and you have to play around against the slingers, right? You're kind of forced to play Osiris with 5 monuments and make a shit ton of mummies and buildings, towers, migdals, spam everything. around the map. You have to use your buildings as much as possible, and use the mummies in very like you need to micro your mummies like as much as possible.
Yeah.
And keep recasting Eclipse. Recasting it. Just like you're probably gonna use more than one Eclipse. Especially if you have like you don't want to make too many mummies, but if you have like 6 mummies and after that and you keep them safe because
mummies,
it's really hard to kill the mummies.
Yeah, mummies, especially if you've gone segment, like you don't have the Nebty.
Exactly.
Damage, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, mummies are
and
really,
after
really
you
good
make
against
those 6
reaction
mummies, you just need to keep recasting Eclipse, to be honest. Now Thoth, if you can gold control Ra, I think Thoth is a better option. I think you can actually win with Thoth.
Yeah,
but
it's like you're going for a 15-minute victory or something like that. Like you're not
basically
playing
yes.
For the
If the game goes more than 18 minutes or let's say 20, because sometimes the game can become chaotic as soon as you hit with the meteors.
Yeah.
But if the game stabilizes kind of early, if you go more than 18 minutes and Ra still has gold mines, then you're just gonna die.
Yeah. I mean, it's like whenever you're doing these one town center plays, and it's just like in general, like your opponent goes 2 town center, you go 1 town center. The onus is on the 1 town center player to use their map control to claim it. Things like getting walls up and preventing sneaky gold mines is like really hard to do, but that's the job of the 1 town center player or the player who has map control. If you have map control, you should claim it, right?
Exactly.
On a map like Alfheim, I don't think you should be going for that certain map there. I don't think you should be going for a gold staff. You should be trying to play like a slow game, but it's good to see if these things work or not, you know?
Sometimes you can also go for like if your opponent goes second TC and you end up getting a later TC, you might as well try to do something like a forward TC and try to gold starve like with a better eco.
Yeah.
That should also be an option.
Yeah, if you've got map control, don't take your back town center, you take your forward one. It's standard.
Exactly,
yeah. And it's a tough game. It's like there's so much thinking you gotta okay, we've got a question for you. If you've still got time. If you don't have time, you can feel free to bail whenever you want to go. But
I have like 10 more minutes.
Okay.
10 more minutes.
Do you think that anyone currently playing has the potential to win beat you in tournament in, let's say, a best of 7?
I don't know, man. I haven't played everyone at the moment. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are playing customs.
Yeah.
I mean, we have Genesis in 2 weeks, right? So
yeah, that's what we find out soon. It's a really cool
like,
tournament.
I
right?
haven't...
the way they're doing Genesis, like you've got the qualifiers, and if you pass the qualifiers, you get into this kind of double, I think it's a double elimination sort of thing. So seeding and all that stuff doesn't really matter. Like, I'm not gonna pass the qualifiers. Like,
No, it doesn't. It doesn't in the main event. I guess it does in the qualifiers.
Yeah.
Because in the qualifiers, there's gonna be like 8 people who qualify, right? So it's basically gonna be
16?
like
Okay, wow. Okay.
it's 8 and 8 and 8. It's gonna be 2 qualifiers,
Yes,
8 and 8.
Yeah.
Now, so what happens is like, so in theory, always, right? The top 16 seeds, I'm gonna play against each other to qualify in the first round.
Yeah.
And if we assume that the top 8 seeds qualify, then the 9 until like 16 seed are, in theory, always are going to qualify in the second qualifier, right?
Yeah.
So it's gonna be like 2 players. And then this is gonna be like the most dangerous part of the tournament, because as soon as you go into the main event, that's when you have double elimination, and that's when seeds doesn't really matter.
Yeah. It's always been my favorite tournament experience is double elim. If you can make it any sort of like, give me an extra chance in the tournament. I played bad I had a bad day, or I had a bad matchup, and I made a stupid mistake in that one, and I know I can play better than that. Give me that extra chance in this thing. It's always been my favorite experience as a player.
It's double elimination is always cool. I kept saying it like a lot of times that having a good day is so important, man.
Yeah.
And you can tell from the first game, by the way. The first game of the day, you can tell if you're gonna have a good day or a bad day.
Yeah, I know. I've had a couple of bad days recently playing this game. You're just like, well, I'm just not gonna win today. That's totally cool. But yeah.
But to add to what you asked earlier, I haven't practiced since I left for Spain, which was like around. I left for Spain like I think 2 of October. Since then, I haven't really practiced to do actual practice. I played the game.
Break, you know, like yeah.
But I will start practicing probably tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna disappear from probably everywhere.
If you need some quality customs, I'm here. I'll show you how it's done. Oh, it's always fun.
But I had an idea though.
Yeah.
So, you know that I've started uploading on YouTube, right? I'm gonna be recording every single practice game.
Yeah.
And as soon as Genesis is over, I'm gonna start posting those games. And I think that's good for the community, and there should provide a lot of content.
Yeah, man, I'm super psyched that you're putting some stuff out there. That's awesome. Like everybody wants to see your stuff, and I think that the more stuff you can share is great. And obviously, like one thing that I think, at least in terms of things that I think are fair game to share, is like if you're just playing a game with not, you're sure you always got strategy in mind, but if it's not like a timing attack or a cheese, then most of that stuff is kind of fair game to share, or like a specific unit comp that you're like don't think anyone's going down. Like those sort of things are, I think that obviously really helpful for everyone to see how you like what's going on, but also they're entertaining to see you playing. So anything you can share is great. You could also do like some post commentary on it as well if you wanted to put something in there. Because you've got such great opinions and thought process. So it's
it takes a lot of time to edit things when it comes to like talking.
Yeah.
I realize that it's so easy to just like record the game.
Yeah.
And basically just upload it kinda raw. Now recording it and then like basically redoing it with commentary, and then sometimes it might not go well and you have to edit it and start it again or things like that. It takes so much time. It takes so much time.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you guys are doing it. Like I don't know. I can only imagine how much time you're spending for your YouTube videos because they look so well organized and awesome.
Oh,
I don't think I can do that. I don't have the patience to do that, man.
Oh, dude, you're spending so much time farming, so I don't know how you get so good at the game and also spend so much time doing physical labor. It seems like I would no. So yeah. I don't know if I've got what else I wanted to ask. Well, that's awesome though. Like I'm watching all the videos you put up on YouTube and just have a little look. See, I've got a question. Okay, how do you micro at max zoom out? Do you ever zoom back into micro, or is it always just max zoom out and you just make it work?
What I force myself is like, obviously it's not the best to micro like this, right? What I like to do is I like to warm up, because I value mouse precision a lot. And if you have mouse good precision, then it doesn't matter if the models are small, right?
Yeah.
As long as you can click the unit, it doesn't matter if it's small or not.
Yeah.
It's even better if you have longer vision, because you can see a lot more things. You can absorb a lot more information, and if you have the processing capabilities, you can come into better conclusions and get better decisions, just because you have you can see so much more. So I value mouse precision a lot, and I always before I start practicing, I always go and practice my aim, because
Do you do like
That's
the
about it.
Osu,
And I,
the Osu thing, or is there like a certain?
no. I usually do like there's a website called AIM Booster,
Ah, yeah, another one. Yeah,
and I just go there and I just try to survive the challenge for 1 minute and 30 seconds. The moment I survive the challenge for 1 minute and 30 seconds,
yeah,
it means that I'm ready to start practicing.
yeah.
It means that like I'm controlling my mouse really well.
I recommend everyone to go and watch Mr. Play and watch what he does with his mouse when he puts his houses down. It's actually kind of wild how perfect it is. It's just
What do you mean?
like you're it's just a really small detail, but when you watch, like if you watch my gameplay, for example, and I'm putting my houses down, I'm kind of a little bit clumsy on it because my mouse precision's not that good. But when you put your houses down, the mouse cursor moves to the spot perfectly, and yeah, so it just goes to show what you're talking about makes a lot of sense, and that's just one really small obvious thing you can look at and be like, wow, that's amazing.
And something else that playing at this zoom level kind of forces me to do, because as I said, it's not easy to micro at this zoom level, is it forces me to have proper positions with my army. Because if you have a good position, microing less is less punishing. So I get to micro less units because my units are inherent are already in a position to hit the units that are meant to hit. So I only have to micro like the important parts of my army.
Do you think that Age 4 taught you that, or is that something you've kind of always been doing?
Age of Empires Online taught me that.
Yeah.
Age of Empires Online.
Age of Empires
because
Online.
Positioning,
yeah.
Positioning in that game was like, it was like everything. You just had to position your army perfectly because there was not much micro to be done.
Yeah.
And I was the first person who realized that, right? Everyone would try to micro. And what I would do is I would split my army into 3 parts, and I would just time it so well so that all these 3 parts collide with my opponent's army, and it would just mess up his formation. And I would have like a really good position, and I would just like pretty much win the fight, even if I had less units, just because my units were just like
right thing,
on top of the units. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of wild, right? Like, even I actually noticed this for myself. If you've got yourself a spearman slinger army, for example, and your opponent surrounds you with raiding cavalry, if you attack move at the correct moment with your slinger, with your entire army, you will get the back spearmen in your army to move to the back and attack the back units that are on your slingers, and your front units to hit the front. If you hit the attack move at the correct point. I mean, the alternative is just to go for a box formation, and then you don't have to worry about anything. But
that ruins the movement, though.
Yes,
it ruins the turning race. Like, the box formation is only good when you're using one type of unit, in my opinion.
Okay.
And that type of unit is moving a lot in the map, which makes that group of units take really smooth turns. And if you take smooth turns, it means that your flanks are not vulnerable to being attacked.
Yeah.
You can notice it. Like, if you take 2 groups of Condarios, one in line and one in box formation, and you just start moving and running around, you will notice how less vulnerable your flanks are.
Yeah. I see what you mean. Yeah, there's so much small stuff. Another thing I noticed the other day is if you are focus firing with your slingers or like counter archers or any unit that deals high damage that's like got a projectile, if you focus fire mostly into a clump of enemy units, the unit you won't overkill anything because the projectile keeps moving forward. Once the unit dies, it'll connect with other units around it.
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
So you can...
Yeah, that's also really important.
Yeah.
That's why sometimes spread formation or like splitting your army into lots of parts is actually really good.
Yeah.
You know, everyone is like so used to moving his army and finding the opponent army, and just like there's one army and we're microing against each other.
Yeah.
But when you're fighting in like when one player has like one army, right? He's moving forward and he engages with 2 armies from each flank, then it creates like a delay on the decision making of like the person who has just one army, because he has to chooses where to split, how to split his army and how to focus fire his units.
Yeah.
And those few seconds, they matter, especially with the current damage multipliers of the counter units in Age of Mythology.
Totally. I must say, I'm personally really enjoying how much more not lethality, it's just like how much more effectiveness like a counter unit actually has. Like, I need to be watching my opponent's army and going, what units are they building? I better be making the right unit, the right amount of units even. Like if my opponent is like Slinger Spearman and I overbuild archers to deal with it, then I'm gonna lose, right? So,
yes. And this was not an issue in Legacy.
No.
You could get away with having a bad army composition.
Yeah, you just go mass archers, and there was literally nothing that you could do in some situations.
I totally agree.
Do you think that there are... Do you know what a death ball is? You play StarCraft, so you know what a death ball is. So death balls are just it's an army that is just really, really strong that you can't get countered. Do you think that army exists in Age of Mythology? Is there an army? Is there an army or an army composition that just has no counter? Is probably the question, and that's like maybe there is in a certain matchup, but just in general.
I think so. It's like there are like 8 specifics.
You don't have to say what they are. Like I'm just interested if you think, because I think that's important.
I'm gonna give an example as well. It's 8 does have a death ball, right?
Yes, each age.
But
yes,
in order to have a death ball, you need plus damage units. That's what makes a death ball strong.
Yeah. Totally.
So it's not hard to figure out, right?
Yeah.
But it's hard to create a death ball, because the moment you create a death ball, you're sacrificing them up. Because the death ball, in order for the death ball to work, you have to move as one party. Because if you split that party, then it's no longer a death ball.
Yeah.
So in order to create a death ball, the first thing that you need to do is you need to pinpoint your opponent into one location. If you manage to do that, then your death ball can just win the game.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's not easy, because like it's Age of Mythology is a high mobility game. It's like a lot of units have really high speeds, and most of the things that you can create death ball with are slow units and hard to mass. So I think it's quite balanced at the moment when it comes to death balls.
That's a really, really good, fair and good comment. I think that's true. It's like, you can have a death ball, but it's going to be a slow, immobile army, and that means you have counterplay. For example, running cavalry into your opponent's base while they're trying to push you, and then they lose all their villages, and then it doesn't even matter that I can't like trade equally with that army. I can make one trade, then rebuild, and then go and kill it. Like that.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Is there anything you feel interested in chatting about?
It's up to you. I probably have like another 10 minutes. So it's up to you. If you want to talk about anything, I'm free.
I love talking about this game.
Me too.
Okay, worst matchup in the game. What is the matchup that you think is like 90-10? Or maybe there's no 90-10 matchups, but
I think there's no 1910, but I think, for example, currently Thor in certain maps has some insane some matchups that it's just hard for him to lose them. It's like I think, let's say Megalopolis, Thor against any of the Greeks, to be honest. Megalopolis, Thor against any of the Greeks. I think Greeks, like it's almost impossible to win as a Greek.
Yeah.
If the Thor player plays properly, right? And especially if you get like there's a certain spawn where you start with 3 rhinos and 3 zebras on Megalopolis. If Thor gets the spawn, he doesn't lose to any god. He just walks over every single god, in my opinion, if you get that spawn with Thor.
Yeah.
It's just too much. You can go like 170 pop from one base. It's just like you can literally go 170 pop at like 10 minutes with Thor in that map with that spawn, and you won't be leaving your base.
And then you can get.
It's so broken.
You get to heroic age, and then you go for a berserker Ragnarok.
Yeah. 10 minutes, you're max pop.
Hey, thank you for the rating.
You're outside your opponent base.
Sorry.
11:15 or like 11:30, you're heroic, and it's just like, what the fuck are you supposed to do? It's like 10. It's like 11:30, and my opponent comes with flaming weapons and like 120 military pop. What are you supposed to do against that? There's no counter.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Poor Greeks. Oh man. All right. There was another question. What do you think? I don't know if you're aware or not, but Rappel recently joined Phantom Aces, which is a professional esports team from Warcraft 3. I don't know if he's talked about exactly what it entails or not, but professional esports teams coming to support. I know you had some experience, I think, with correct me if I'm wrong, MYI?
Yes.
What do you think about professional esports teams in the RTS space in Mythology?
I think if we manage to get this type of esport teams like get involved, it will create lots of motivation for like players who want to be competitive. And I think that's always good, right? Like you want teams in games. You don't want clans. You get clans in Woobly. You get clans in Legacy.
Yeah.
Here, if you want to move forward, you want teams because there are tournaments.
Yeah.
And people need motivation. Like you might get some gear, for example, right? And I don't know how many are using like specific gear, but I'm a person who has been using the same type of gear since I was playing competitive in StarCraft 2. I've been using the same mouse, the same type of mouse for the last 14 years.
Yeah.
I don't want to change. It's your whole mentality changes. Your whole mentality changes if you go competitive. And these type of teams, they can support you both mentally and physically by giving you things for you to improve.
Yeah. Oh, it's super cool. I mean, it's such an exciting time for Age of Mythology, but yeah. I mean, like this game is going to grow as well. We're going to get a DLC soon with soon TM, soon trademark with China. And I'm going to see another DLC after. We're going to have the Arena of the Gods coming at some point, I'm sure.
The thing that I'm looking most forward to is Arena of the Gods.
Yeah.
Can you guess why? Though?
Well, I know that in StarCraft that the cooperative modes in single player or cooperative modes in StarCraft are the most popular modes. So I know that they are really, really important for keeping interest in the casual space. So that's my hope for the game mode is that it's like cooperative. You can put lots of replayability, because I think that'll be really, really important. Why do you think? What are you looking forward to?
That plus
that
it's a getaway for multiplayer. Because
a gateway,
you have the average. Yes, you have the average Age of Mythology player.
Oh, I've lost him.
For him to, sorry,
say again. Same whole idea.
So the average Age of Mythology player is playing the campaign. That's the average Age of Mythology player. He's playing the campaign and he's playing skirmish. Now with Arena of the Gods, he gets introduced to multiplayer. And from multiplayer, then he can get into playing quick match and ranked and 2v2 ranked and team games and custom games, etc. Yeah. And I think that's gonna boost the numbers of Age of Mythology even more.
Yeah, that's always the big question, right? Like there's a couple of different types of Age of Mythology, or not Age of Mythology player, but gamer. And obviously you want sales, And the easiest way to guarantee sales is to create a player that is called a sticky player. And this is the player who's just going to hang around and buy everything. And that player generally, I would say, probably doesn't actually play a whole lot of ranked, but does play a lot of like multiplayer content, DLC content, extra single player content. And I do think that a big helper to that is the social aspect in games. So being able to play those cooperative modes, being able to play with friends in customs, and eventually that player, if they stick around for long enough, they'll get an itch for competitive and start playing ranked, and then all the fun stuff happens.
And the moment he plays ranked, he plays against a good player, and he's like, and then he takes YouTube, he takes tweets, and then he becomes a viewer.
Yeah.
And then that supports esports as well.
Yeah, 100%. There's so much really, really important stuff that goes into the whole picture, and it's really hard to know what's actually going on, for sure. Okay, so we've got the DLCs coming. There's not really much to talk about with them, but is there a certain play style that you think could be in Age of Mythology that isn't just because there's no god that plays into that? I know that's like a difficult question because
I think currently, and that's why I'm really fighting to fix the things that are broken, because when there are things that are broken, they are forced you into doing certain things. And the moment you have like a game that is kind of balanced, yes, there are some things that are good, right? But the moment like you have a balanced game, then people can start developing styles. Like we always thought of Age of Mythology with build orders, right? You were like, I'm gonna go fast heroic, for example. I'm gonna go 2TC. I'm gonna do this and that. Fix things.
Yeah.
And that was one of the biggest differences between like Age of Mythology, Age of Empires 4, and Age of Empires 2.
Yeah.
Because in order to have when you have a balanced game, most of the people will play tempo, which means that they will poke, they will see what's happening, they will react, which leads into a lot of variety. And if you consider how many things you can do in Age of Mythology, the moment you will start having like playing tempo as one of the main ways to play the game, you will have so many play styles, so many different ways to play the game. And that's what I'm looking for. That's what I want the game. That's how I imagine the game being played, as like always reacting to what's happening, always like doing something to provoke a reaction. So basically it's like playing like rock, scissors, paper, rock, scissors.
Yeah.
And Spocks. I don't know if you watched The Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
And so, lizard Spocks.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's right.
Every other game has like paper, rock, scissors, but in Age of Mythology you also have like lizard Spocks as well, because you have like myth units and god powers, which makes the game so fun as well, right?
I agree.
There's
I agree.
so many things that you can do.
Well, I mean, it's all a process, right? Like, I'm actually really grateful that we're getting. So far, it seems like we're getting a patch every 2 weeks, which maybe it's not enough time to let the meta settle or whatever. Maybe it's too slow, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's. I mean, after having, what was the Vubly balance patch, like changelog was once every 4 years,
right?
once every year, once every 6 months. Like, these are very, very long periods to play in a certain patch and a meta or whatever. So it's, for me, it's nice because it's like I see something like, when the patch hit and I saw divine damage on slingers, I'm like, oh, it's awesome. Now I can use my slingers. I actually feel like I can use them. Now, it could be too much, and that's what we're kind of seeing here. It's a lot, but I do feel like I get to use them now. So it's like, okay, so you've managed for them to be usable. Now we go, all right, how much is a number so that they don't feel oppressive, but I still feel like I can use them, etc., etc. So it's like you could go, for example, like let's say 1 divine damage is too much. Maybe 0.8 is the right number. Maybe 0.5 is
exactly.
the right number,
Yeah. I think they should go with like something like 0.25, 0.30, 0.50. I think it was a good change because it makes the upgrade unique,
Yeah.
and it does make Slinger an overall good type of unit.
Yeah.
Especially since you get slingers of this slings of the sun, right? That's what the second
Slings of
upgrade
the Sun.
is called.
Honestly, if I'm completely honest, like I think that the bigger issue with the Slinger, this is my opinion, and I'm more than happy to be wrong about it, but the bigger issue is the slings of the Sun, on the fact that the multiplier is just so big. And if you're using it against the throwing axeman, for example, I'm getting this is 4.75x against a throwing axeman, which is a crazy amount. So
that's an easy fix though. You can just take away, like you can just take away the bonus when they're fighting against throwing axemen, right? They did that in Legacy.
Yeah.
Like throwing axemen were doing less damage against Hersirs.
Yeah.
And they were doing more damage against the rest of the infantry. Like I think that's an easy fix. I think one of the main issues with it's like just one.
Apparently they
base
stack multiple
damage
to 5.25. I'm wrong. 5.25x. Even more. Yeah.
It's very painful. You have a unit that is basically, I would consider it a trash unit that is good against everything.
It's a little bit less trash. It's a little bit less trash than it. I think it's no, is it? I think it's a little bit less trash than it was because it's a little bit more expensive now. A little bit.
I guess.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you're saying, right?
I guess there's.
Like you compare a medium terma is 90 resources. You compare that to the Slinger is 85 resources. So it's like, yeah,
I think I used the. I think I used the wrong word though. You're right. It's a specialized unit.
Yes, specialized unit.
When you're having specialized units that are doing well against all units, then you have an issue. Like slingers should get destroyed by cavalry, for example, right? They should be terrible against infantry unless you take the upgrade slingers of the sun, and then suddenly they are just not terrible. They're still bad, but they're not terrible.
Yeah.
And they should obviously be really extremely bad against siege, but with slingers of the sun,
with
electron bullets,
with divine bullets, they get good against siege.
They destroy siege as well.
Yeah.
Like, for example, Slinger, this is ironic, it's the best unit, ranged unit, apart from Hero Ballista, to kill destroyers with electron bullets, like Slinger, because it does the divine damage.
Well, I mean, yeah, there are other units, range units, that are getting to do divine damage as well. So it's not just the slingers, but I agree with you that they do. That you're getting this divine damage really early, so that's the thing.
If you get Slinger of the Sun plus electron bullets.
Oh yeah, they're doing. Yeah, you're right. They're doing like 1.75. 2.75 damage.
2 points exactly.
Yeah.
Plus the normal damage that they're doing. So they're doing like more than 3 damage against the destroyer when a Toxotis is doing like 1.5, like 2. And one is meant to kill Toxotis, and the other one is meant to kill infantry. And the one that is meant to kill Toxotis is doing more damage against infantry than the actual Toxotis.
The one thing, like Pegasus is just calling me out, and he's right. And here's the thing. I do think that this is the whole point of what I was bringing up with the Slinger. With I made a video on it, right? I was like, the Slinger, everyone says is this. I actually said it in the video. So there's two parts to this balance problem. Is there a counter to it? Which there obviously is a counter to the Slingers. And then the second problem, which is a much harder conversation, and it's very difficult to come to a solution on this, is it okay that this unit functions in the way that it does? So it's like you have Slingers can get countered by mass cavalry, they can get countered by infantry, with mass infantry, and any sort of mix of those two based on whatever other units are in there, you can beat this army. But is that okay or not? Based on something else is a totally different conversation than balance, right? I don't know if you agree with me or not, but that's my opinion on it.
Well, the thing is, like, you must never be like, I'm gonna be making only slingers. Yes,
Yeah.
Slingers do
So let me give you an example.
cavalry
Right?
destroys slingers.
Let me give you an example. This army that Magic's got right now, he's got 6 spearmen, he's got 40 slingers. Let's say he's got 10 spearmen and he's got 40 slingers. If I'm playing Greek and I've got Thracian horses, Spirited Charge, Hippias, all I need is like 5 for Pacifist in my army, and I probably don't even need it. I probably can go mass Hippias at this point, and I can dominate that entire army. So if I just have I have a couple of counter infantry in here, I can win this army. So it's like, yeah, it's strong, but there are counters.
Yes. Okay, so you are the problem. This is the problem with your logic.
Yep.
You are watching this as a caster, as we're observing this, right?
Yes.
So you're like, oh, Magic has this type of army, which this army was built because his opponent was making a shit ton of tournaments.
Yeah.
Right. So when you're playing Greek, right, you said that you want a lot of hips to counter this.
Yep.
But a proper Egyptian will not be like, I'm gonna make 40 slingers blindly and do whatever and just move outside the map. He's gonna be like, I'm gonna make 5 spears, 6 slingers as a core composition, and then I'm gonna move in the map. Then
okay, let me throw this. Let me throw one fact, because I know this one because I did it today. 30 spearmen versus 30 slingers. Wait, it's 120 pot, right? So you get 60 units. 30 spearmen, 30 slingers. Perfectly even pot composition. Do you think that a Greek army can beat that comp? And this is with Slings of the Sun, Horus Spearmen, fully upgraded. Do you think that that comp is going to be able to win a full pot fight?
Like,
if the army is...
If you make 30 Hypaspist and 20 Hippicons, you can probably take a good fight against this.
No. It's 10 Hypaspist and the rest Hippias. So all I got to do is look at this army and go, how many Hypaspis do I have to add to my Hippias army composition?
Yes, but at the same time,
so you do that at the end,
as I said again. Yes, but at the same time, you build this army slowly, right? It's this army.
In the late game, you don't build anything slowly. You just have all the buildings out.
But that's the problem. Electron bullets and that upgrade will not wait for you in late game. He's gonna push.
You get the tempo. You have to have. That's the whole thing with the army. That's like Egyptians' whole game plan is tempo.
Yes, that's the thing though. So basically, if the Egyptian plays this type of army, he will be the one that he's pushing. And for me, I only need 5 barracks. That's all I need as an Egyptian.
Yeah, otherwise, you only need 5 barracks because you got the empowerment on the monument, which is
and
a
even
very
with set, you just.
You need more.
And even with set, you just take the upgrade. You take the upgrade.
Oh yeah.
You're gonna play 5 barracks. You just get the upgrade from the barracks to train faster. Magic was doing the same mistake. He would be like, I'm gonna have 30 spears, 30 slingers, put them in a scenario, let them fight. Oh, there is a counter. But in an actual game, that is not the case because you have reinforcements, you have like pressure. Yeah, if I sit in my base, you send a Pegasus and you're like, you have 30 spears, 30 slingers, I'm gonna make this army and I'm gonna win the fight. But in reality, if I make spearmen and slingers and you do not make something that is ranged, I'm gonna be poking you to death. I'm gonna poke you to death because you're gonna have a lot of Hippicons. And in order to get Hippicons, they have like low trading time. They cost a lot of gold, so you're gonna need to be heavy on gold. I'm gonna be pushing you hard on gold.
What's the training time of Hippias versus a Spearman? Out of interest,
I think Spearman is like
9 seconds.
14, 13.
10, let's call it 10. What Hippias is 14. Wait, I don't know. What is it? Does anyone have any ideas? I'm just interested because if you divide it by the population, is it not similar? So like 3 versus 4 seconds per population or something like that. It's kind of similar. But then you add the Pharaoh empowerment or you add the upgrades or whatever. Like you. I don't know what the numbers are. I don't know. But it's like that's the thing. If the Egyptian player doesn't have the tempo, and the Greek player will be able to win. So you have to be thinking, how can I, as a Greek side, your advantage is how can I slow this Egyptian player down so that I can have the tempo. Oh, we have to wait for Mr. He's lost his stuff. Now, I mean, all of this to say, I'm not saying that slingers are weak. I'm just saying that there are, and this is the thing. I'm not saying they're weak. I'm just saying that there is an answer to it. Now, whether or not that is a balanced thing at the moment or not, I don't really know. Because it's like, I don't play at the very top level. So all I do is watch the games. So we'll see what's going on when Mr. comes back. Greek also needs multiple buildings, multiple upgrades. I mean, you do also need multiple buildings and multiple upgrades as Egyptian as well. It's not like no one's getting upgrades. Greek also gets, I mean, not with Ra. This is the kind of difficult thing, is that Ra gets a lot more economy because Ra gets rain than, say, Set does. So Ra is going to be able to be a lot more closer on resources to a Greek player than Set does, which that's a challenge to overcome.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome back.
Can you hear me properly? I'm on my phone.
That's
my whole town lost electricity.
Hey man, that's terrible.
What were we saying?
I think the main point from my end is, yes, slingers are strong with electron bullets. There is a counter that is possible to beat them. Now, whether that is practical in-game counter or not, I don't know. But that's for you guys to go out and play. So that was the main point. And then you also have the other discussion, which is it okay for this unit to be able to do what it's doing? That's a completely separate discussion in terms of balance. So those are the two answers you got, or two questions you have to answer in order to get this thing, I mean, changed.
I mean, like, I agree that, like, it's like that. Like, yes, you shouldn't have in the second part, I would say you shouldn't have a unit that can counter range units and infantry, do okay against siege, and not terribly against cavalry, right? And when it comes to countering it, I'm pretty sure that if you have the time, you can counter any type of composition. If you have the time, you can counter any type of composition in the game. The problem is time.
Yeah.
Like when
I'll give you one example. Just because, like, this is my experience. I was playing against Joey. Joey, I would say, is a better player than me. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm better than him, but I would say he's better than me. I was playing Poseidon versus his set. I think it was his set. Maybe it was his Ra. I can't remember. But I went for Mass Hippias and Spirited Charge Thracian horses. And there was at no point an opportunity for him to kill my army. He went through Horus eventually, but I was just so far in front of him in the game. Now, I didn't go back and watch the recording. I don't know why I was so far in front of him, but he went the Tar segment route, and it just kind of fell flat on its face with me playing this style of Greek.
Yeah, it was set on Nile Shallows, I think.
It was on Blue Lagoon.
The thing is, like, for example, he was set, right?
Set or Ra, I'm not 100% sure. I can't remember. I have to look at the game again.
Yeah, but did he make slingers? Oh.
Yeah, he was going Spearman Slinger against full Hippias.
Did he make slingers even though you went mass Hippicons?
Yes.
Yeah, that's an obvious mistake, right? It's like when you play one type of unit and you're like, as an Egyptian, you have.
You're breaking up, unfortunately. I agree with you that if you're making a unit that you shouldn't be making, that's going to be a problem, right? But He should be going mass spearman there, I guess. But then if he goes mass spearman and I just start creeping in some... Actually, no, I was getting Toxotes out. So he was making... Was I? Yes, no, I was. I was making Toxotes Hippias. And it was all good. So... I mean, I'll probably put that game up on YouTube for people to watch. And you can judge for yourself if it is... balanced or imbalanced specifically in Poseidon versus Set. And this has always been a matchup that, as a Set player, I've thought Poseidon is I think we lost Mr. I enjoy taking these conversations. Apologies, we can't really finish that conversation up. I don't think my mind's going to be changed until I actually see a top see someone like Mr. playing against someone like Recon, and it could be any of these players playing together in tournament with this stuff. Like, I don't think that I can really make my mind up about this stuff. Or maybe if I watch the customs, I can make my mind up about it and see these guys going, yep, this thing is just winning. This is why it's winning, and there's nothing you can do about it. And I go, great, okay, it's imbalanced in a way that there's no counter, as opposed to it's imbalanced in a way that is like in a way that this unit shouldn't be able to do this thing. The two separate things, right? But I appreciate Mr. coming on. I want you guys to go and check out his YouTube channel and all of his content that he's putting out. He said he's going to put customs. It's going to be awesome. I appreciate him taking the time. I know he's a very busy man. And I hope to have more conversation like this. And if you guys enjoyed it, let me know. And see you on the next one.